Hey, this is Max. I'm back with another CSR2 video. Tonight is the FXXK. This is the racing version of the Ferrari LaFerrari. It is a beautiful car, and it was the first 20 million point milestone car that was awarded to Cruise back when Natural Motion first started the 20 million you get a car thing with the Crew Cup. Before that, only the very top crews got any kind of a car reward. I believe it was top 10, with the top three getting purple stars and the rest getting gold star cars. Starting with this car season, everybody who made it to 20 million started getting cars, and the game really changed. If it wasn't for this, I think a lot of players might have quit because you really couldn't get a nice car back then unless you just simply spent money and bought gold keys and or you're in the top 10 crew. So this has changed things quite a bit, and I think gave a lot of longevity to the game. However, this car has not been what people expected. It was touted as the first milestone car, and then the speculation at the time was that this is going to be one of the fastest cars in the game, and it turned out to be a rather slow car in the game. In fact, now it's in the lower bottom half of the list of tier 5 cars. So how slow is it? Well, fully maxed, this car, and I'm not saying my tune is right because I didn't really tweak it too hard, but I'm getting a dyno of about 9.018. You may be able to get it under dyno slightly if you drive it really well, which means the maximum potential of this car is somewhere around 8.9. And that's really slow. I mean, if you think about it, that's comparable to the Ford GT and the Ferrari 458, which are both much older cars in the game. And let's be honest, almost everything coming out nowadays in Tier 5, they're hitting somewhere in the mid to low 8s all the way to the low 7s. So this is a very slow car. And that is that full stage 6, fully maxed with all fusions. So what about the stage 6s on this car? What are the effects of stage 6 for the Ferrari FXXK? Well, remember, if this car comes along as a golden cup, as it is being rumored, this car may very well get a buff. And if it gets a buff, it may very well be a lot faster, and these stage 6 effects may be different. But if it's just a straight up buff without changing too much things, maybe the effects will still be the same. So what I'm going to do is I'll at least give you the base effects, and then you can take it from there. And if it does get a buff, or if there is golden cup, I may revisit this video and produce a follow-up video which will show you the effects based on a changed situation. Now, let's take a look at where this car is at on stage 5 parts. Again, without tweaking it too much, it's somewhere around 10.6. Now, I may be able to get it a little bit higher to about a 10.66. I recall is about where it should be. 10.656, it's about close. So a 10.656 sounds good enough to take on and potentially beat the boss for Tempest 2 for Tier 5. And that's, I believe that would be Dana. But this car is hard to drive, and I will drive it in a minute, but I want to put a stage 6 on it before I bother with that. So it's kind of hard to drive, and you may not hit dyno with it. So I would not take a stage 5 only version of this car against the Tempest 2 boss. However, it can easily take on the original boss and the Tempest 1 boss. If you happen to pull this car and you're a newer player, remember this is a Ferrari, so unlike some other brands, you can actually get the fusions by stripping F12s from the dealership. Very expensive, time consuming, but hey, if you play enough, it's doable. All right, let's take a look at the stage 6s. Traditionally, the worst stage 6 is intake, and I'm probably expecting the same here. I'm going to fit this one first. So we're hopefully moving from really bad to really good. Okay, let's take a look. Now, no PP change, barely any Evo change. Yes, I will tune it, but that's not boding well for a lot of effects from the stage 6 itself. And it certainly doesn't look like there's going to be much margin even from there. And what does it do? About 400 less than where it was before. That is very little effect from a stage 6 that has 2 fusions as well. So intake is the worst, not really surprising. I think intake's been worse on almost every single car in the game in every tier. I could be wrong on that. I mean, maybe in one tier it might have been a little better than turbo, but generally speaking, in tier 5, it's definitely the worst. So that is the worst. Let's move on to turbo. Since it only has one fusion, the feeling is that it's not going to be really great. A little bit of PP increase over intake, no real change in Evo without tuning. So I'm not too optimistic it's going to be that much better. It will be a little better, but it won't be that much better than intake. Maybe another few hundreds better than intake, which will put it somewhere into the 10.5 something range if I tune it just right. $10.533. All right. So that is about a 0.13 drop. Okay, not bad, but not very good. So turbo and intake lives up to expectations by being pretty weak in effect. All right, so now we're starting to move into other parts like engine. Now, engine is hit or miss depending on the car. On some cars, it seems to do a lot. On other cars, it does very little. Let's see what it does for the Ferrari. So here the PP went up a decent amount. There's a little bit of a Evo increase as well. So that's both positive. And if I can tune it for some more points, all right, probably not. See if a little bit more grip helps. Hey, it does. Well, not too much grip. So here, 1093 Evo, 704 PP dropped to a 10.368. Hey, that's pretty good. So from a 10.66, 656 to a 10.368, 0.29 drop is still a decent drop. That's actually pretty good. Okay, so engine is good. Let's see if the other ones will beat engine now. So engine, pretty decent so far. Let's move on to trans and see what that does. Now trans, less PP increase, but a little more Evo increase. So it might be a wash. This might be very close to engine. Again, if we tweak the tune slightly, see if it goes up anymore. Doesn't look like it. Play with the tire a little bit. No, looks like it's going to stay at that. And it's a 10.329, which actually is a little bit slower than what we got on engine, I believe, because it's showing me in red rather than green. Huh. So, but they're very close. They're almost the same. So engine and trans coming in neck and neck with overall effects. So here you have two stage sixes that are basically the same effect so far. That's not a bad thing. When it's evenly spread out like that, that's actually a good thing because you're not getting screwed as much if you get a stage six that wasn't the one you're expecting, but you know that it's not going to be totally terrible. So here, the Evo is a little bit lower. That tells me this might be a less effective. Well, it's almost the same. Let's take a look. 10.441, so it is about 600 slower than the last group we did, which all fell right around 10.34, 36, and 35. So this one is a little bit weaker, not by much though. So it's still pretty close to where it needs to be. Let me see if I can get any more points out of it. No, not likely. Okay, so this one's a little bit weaker than engine and trans, but it's not terribly weaker. So still pretty even so far on most of these stage sixes. I wonder if there's going to be one time busting stage six, like in some cars, you get that one stage six and you drop by 4, 5 tenths. I wonder if body will be that one or not. Okay, so let's take a look. 3 PP increase. Decent amount, but it didn't even hit 1100 yet. Let me see if I can tune it over 1100. So 3 PP increase, but not as much Evo increase. That tells me this is not a huge piece for performance purposes. It'll probably do well, but it doesn't look like it's going to beat the others by a huge margin. Let's see what it actually comes out to. 10.332. All right, it's still one of the better by like a hundredth so far, but that's again, it's not going to have this huge gap from the other ones. So that leaves really only one left. I wonder if nitrous is going to shine or nitrous is going to be kind of a dud. Let's take a look. Only one PP increase, a decent amount of EVO increase, but the PP points didn't go up by much. Now we still haven't tuned it, so there's potential for more margin here. Let's see if I can get it high enough to. Doesn't look like we're going to get much more out of this. All right, 1133,702, and no, it's actually a little bit less effective than trans and body. Okay, well, even I think engine. So this one, this car nitrous doesn't do as much as you would think. Okay, that's interesting. All right, let's drive the car and see what it does. All right. So one of the reasons a lot of people don't like this car is they get it in the daily battle and they have a hard time driving it. And it's not surprising because it launches like the F12, but it doesn't shift exactly like the F12. It has a little bit of a weird hang when you first launch it, like that. And then you have to catch the needle so it doesn't bounce off a red line. And that can be annoying, especially when the shifts are quick and your device is not. So some people really don't like this car because of that. I've driven it enough that I don't mind it, but beating dyno requires some special tuning because general driving, it's hard to even hit dyno. All right, so from a stage 6 effect standpoint, this car is not too bad because it is evenly spread out. That means if the Golden Cup requires 4 stage 6 to make it through, any of the 5 decent ones in combination of some sort would get you there. The only 2 you probably wouldn't want to see is intake and turbo, but not so far. Well, they are far off, but intake and turbo, if those are the only 2 you have, you're probably going to be struggling quite a bit. But if you have at least 3 of the other ones with intake and turbo, you may still do fine because none of them drop the time by a huge margin like some cars in the 7-second range that we see, or even the low 8s like the Huracan, which, the one stage 6 will drop it by almost 0.4, 0.5 seconds. You're just not seeing that with this car, and that's a good thing. So this is, in my opinion, a good car, but it is, for many players who are looking for faster cars, a disappointment and a dust collector. They've been letting it sit and they don't play with it because they just don't like it, which I understand. I have no problem with that. I am not someone who requires a fast car to enjoy the game, so I have put some mileage on this car. And I enjoy driving it, and I've been winning more often than losing in it as well. So that's my opinion of this car, is that it's a decent car, not great, but decent. And certainly from a look standpoint, I just think it's a great looking car. Feel free to make comments, ask questions if you have any specifics on this particular car that you want to know about. Again, the car may get a buff, so this whole exercise in stage 6 may be a completely different situation when we finally get to the Golden Cup. And again, the Golden Cup itself is still a rumor, but it is been found in the metadata by some people that knows how to do that. So chances are it'll happen, but it's not a guarantee. Tempest 1 can be taken down with this car. Tempest 2 can be taken down with this car with enough upgrades. And certainly the original boss Shax can be taken down with this car as well. Not the easiest one to drive, but not super terrible either. Please subscribe to the channel so that if I put up additional videos or a follow-up video to this car, you will get a notification based on having a subscription. And again, as always, I'd like to thank you for watching my videos.